What's going on, YouTube? Once again, I'm back. And another video in under a week. What can I say? I'm feeling consistent. I'm feeling regular. I'm feeling good. Been making a lot of changes in my life to the more positive, and trying to make more changes to the positive. I had a hell of a 2021. I think everybody did, and I'm not trying to minimize anybody else's experiences or traumas, or any hardships that they may have gone through last year or into early to mid this year. But it was rough. It was rough for me, and I'm turning it around. And right now, I'm in a space where I'm in a good space. That's pretty much all I can put out there. And I'm really digging putting up regular content for everybody right now. Gone are the days of 2 to 3 months between videos. I think maybe getting back into the algorithm. I'm not 100% sure. I've never really been sure how to read those fucking stats. But you know what? They're never really my primary concern when I've been doing videos. I do videos for the interaction with the people who do comment and the people who do view. And if you're still following my shit, I hope you're still commenting, because I love that interaction. I love responding. I love seeing other people respond to other comments that I didn't leave on the video, and just threads building on the stuff that I'm putting up for you guys to watch. Now, as far as what we're doing tonight, there's a thread going on right now, and it was started by a fairly new channel called TKR VideoCentral. I don't know if it's a push to a certain amount of subscribers. I don't even know if it's a contest. This isn't a contest entry, because I don't generally enter contests. I have in the past when they've been something that I've been interested in actually talking about. The problem is that with a lot of these contests, you kind of see the same old stuff come up in all the responses, and you see people who never subbed before signing up to sub to the channel just because they're giving away some prizes. So TKR, I'm going to comment on your vid and give you a link to this one, or just say I dropped a fucking video, but don't consider it an entry. You got people who I'm sure are newer to the VC, and more consistent than I am historically, that are probably more worthy of winning a prize, if there is a prize. Like I said, I don't know. I just saw Clifford, the Vinyl Cheapskate. He called me out specifically, along with Ground Zero Salem, Mr. Pat, to do entries for this thread. I think I first saw Vinyl Richie do a response, and then Michael Pilmer also did a response. Mika, Dr. October, he did a response. It was pretty great. John, Bip Bop Boom. Did VK do an entry? I don't know. I don't recall. I've been kind of, beyond providing updates, out of the YouTube loop for a lot of the summer so far, especially the last few weeks. It's been super nice out here. So I'm trying to be outside. I'm trying to be at the gym. I'm trying to be hanging out with people in real life, IRL. At any rate, I'm rambling. I haven't even shown you any music yet. And if you're still with me, awesome. We're going to get right into it. The contest, or the thread topic, is 10 records, tapes, or whatever. I think the idea is to show no more than 2 different formats in your video. I'm only showing one. We're going to talk about tapes, but 10 that you either have never seen in the VC or you don't think anybody else in the VC owns. And I did tape specific. I could have mixed it up with tapes and 45s, or tapes and LPs, or just LPs, just 45s. I thought tapes only would be a bigger challenge than the other two for me. So I pulled 10. And we're going to start at what's probably the most common and go up to the weirdest shit. So no further ado, let's just get right into it. The first one we're going to talk about is an album that came out, many, many, many years back. I don't remember exactly what the year was. I want to say maybe 91 or 92. And we're talking about Body Count, Cop Killer. I mean, could it be any other record from that era that we're going to discuss here? Now, everybody knows Cop Killer at this point. But the thing is, if you didn't buy Cop Killer as soon as it came out, you got a version of Cop Killer with the title track not even on the album. They censored that shit in the 90s. PMRC, man, you gotta love Tipper Gore. Yeah, Body Count Cop Killer. This is the version with Cop Killer intact. It's the last track on the B side of the cassette. It is, it's a great track. It's a crossover punk track. I think Body Count never really hid their crossover roots from their tunes, which is one of the reasons that I really dug these guys when I was a youngster. That and they just fucking look cool, fronted by Ice-T. I mean, look at those guys. And look at that insert. Look at that. Look at it. Cop Killer, controversial for a lot of reasons because it's about, the track itself is about killing cops. It's pretty tongue-in-cheek, but it's also really wry social commentary. Most of this album is. For as dumb as some of the lyrics on this record are, like KKK bitch or voodoo or fucking evil dick. Is it evil dick? There's some really great fucking cuts on this record. And what they did when they cut Cop Killer is they took Jello Biafra's Pledge of Allegiance, which was already on like a spoken word of his, and I think probably like some live bootlegs for Dead Kennedys. It's already out there, and they just got the rights from Biafra and Alternative Tentacles. Ice-T and Biafra, I think, are pretty tight, and they put it in place of Cop Killer. Why would you have an album and still call it Cop Killer, record label, Warner Brothers, or Sire in this case, and then fucking puss out, actually, we don't want to use that terminology, sell out. How about that? You fucking money-grubbing piece of shit stooges bowing to religious censorship. It's so stupid. Anyway, Cop Killer, awesome. And I just dropped it on the floor. No big deal. Second record, not as common, but it's one I've never seen shown in the VC, I don't think. If I have, then I've forgotten. My memory sucks. We're going to talk about, I've mentioned these guys, Virulence, with their album, If This Isn't a Dream. Virulence are probably best known as a SoCal or maybe they're from Bay Area, because they were on Alchemy Records, along with bands like Sacrilege BC, the Grim, Neurosis. I believe the Melvins were on Alchemy at one point. There have been a lot of bands on Alchemy, and Alchemy has put out some very good records. And this is one of them. Virulence became who you all know today as Fu Manchu. And they're a totally different animal than what they started out as. You can hear kind of the direction they were headed, but it was an abrupt shift. I mean, they put this album out and then basically became Fu Manchu. This is a great record. If I had to compare this to anything, it would be Pain of Mind, Neurosis meets the B-side of My War by Black Flag. That's probably the easiest way to describe to somebody who's never heard this what it sounds like, assuming they're familiar with what those two records sounds like. It's got more sludge than Neurosis. Funny, right? Because Neurosis basically became a sludge band, post-metal sludge type band, whereas the first two records they put out were just blazing and scathing hardcore masterpieces. That's what you get here. It's hardcore. It's fucking played earnestly. It is played scathingly. Again, these guys were awesome. I wish they would have stuck around to do like another fucking project before turning into Fu Manchu. As much as I like Fu Manchu, because Fu Manchu are they're goats for sure. Anyway, that's Virulence. Next one we're gonna look at, Attitude, with, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the title of that. It's German. Translates to No Sleep Till Deutschland, which is hilarious. Hilarious. Attitude. This is what happened after Attitude Adjustment. They just dropped the adjustment and became Attitude. So if you're familiar with like American Paranoia Attitude Adjustment, it's more of that on this, and it's awesome. And this is a pretty rare tape. I believe it's a German edition. on VideoCentral Records. Nice red label on a black shell there. Fucking sick. And you got the J card there. Also fucking sick. This is just a great EP. There's actually a cassette comp, also on VideoCentral, has an identical cover, a different title. It's a compilation of everything they recorded under the name Attitude. It's great as well if you can find it, but these things are few and far between. I don't even remember where mine came from. I know it was overseas somewhere, because I love Attitude Adjustment, and I want just about anything they put out on my shelf taking up more space. So the next record, not a rare record. I've seen plenty of copies of these on the VC on YouTube. But I've never seen this version of this record, which is why I pulled it, because I've also never shown it. And that would be Public Image Limited with This Is What You Want, This Is What You Get. This album is my favorite PIL record. It's got The Order of Death on it, and that's a record seller right there. That song is phenomenal. The first time I ever heard it was watching the movie Hardware, directed by Richard Stanley, and starring Dylan McDermott? One of the Dermots or McDermotts. Iggy Pop's got a role in that film. Lemmy, Motorhead, plays a taxi driver. One of the best cyberpunk sci-fi movies ever, in my opinion. Phenomenal atmosphere. And beyond The Order of Death on this album, the rest of the atmosphere on this record matches. But this is, I believe, an Italian pressing on Virgin. You get the baby blue labels on the white shell, or cream shell, as it were. And then you've got, of course, the really gaudy Virgin cover and the track listing, which is, like I said, I believe it's Italian. Record came out in 1984. This is a great album. Like I said, I've seen a lot of copies of this, just like domestic presses, like the common ones, but never seen Italian cassette for this record, and it rules. Okay, moving on. Getting into the kind of rarer shit. Let's move this a little bit forward. This is a fairly new record for me as of this year. When I started diving into my jazz kick, this is one of the first things I picked up from my local. They got a shit ton of used jazz cassettes in stock, and most of them were titles by artists that I'd been recommended. And this was prior to the jazz video that I did a few months back. And I picked this up. It was not cheap. I'm not going to flex by saying how much it costs, because the tape, I do have a spending limit on tapes, believe it or not. But it's probably higher than a lot of y'all's. At any rate, we are talking about none other than the Don Cherry Trio with Eternal Now. This is a record, I don't know if it's even currently impressed by anybody. I know that Klimt, which is kind of like a gray market label, they put out an LP not too long ago. This is on, what's the label? Can't read in the dark, yo. Jesus Christ. The lack of professionalism is obscene. My glasses are killing me here. What's on whatever label that is. Starts with a C. I should have looked this up, but we're not going to dwell on that for too long. At any rate, there's a tape, just old school. This tape's 1974. That's how old this tape is, I believe. At least that's when the album came out. And this is, I want to say, the same label that put out the vinyl originally. I've listened to a lot of Don Cherry since getting into jazz. This is my favorite one. And this is not even in Discogs. I couldn't tell you how many people actually own it, but it's legit. There's a lot of research done at the shop that I picked this up so they could price it properly. And I didn't demand copies of their paperwork or their process in determining the legitimacy of this, but yeah, it's a legit copy and it rules. It's As far as the jazz that I've discovered, top 5 album for me, for sure. This and the first Pharoah Sanders. Amazing records. Pharoah's even on this, if I'm not mistaken. So, if you're not familiar, you're not jazz phobic, this record's awesome. All right, this is another fucking... I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that anybody that I watch on YouTube or who watches me on YouTube does not have this. In fact, they've probably never seen it, heard of it, or know what it is. And that would be Alfredo Tims and his Flying Tigers. Now just take that cover in. Take that. It's so good. So I want a shirt with that on it. A yellow shirt with that in red print on it. Marty, make me that shirt. Yes, Alfredo Tims and his Flying Tigers. The album is Future Funk Uncut. And this is an album on Reach Out International, ROIR Records. Although I don't know why when you say ROIR Records, you say records, because the R in ROIR at the end stands for records. So it's like, it's redundant. So let's just say ROI Records. How about that? As with most ROI, tongue twister, ROIR, Reach Out International cassettes. It's on a funky yellow shell. They put out red shells, blue shells, just goofy, like not standard shells for your cassettes. This is the only shit this guy ever released. 81, like I said. And there's the band. And, you know, you got your insert. You got a letter, a copy of a handwritten letter. Oh, shit, almost dropped it. From Alfredo Tims. Should we read it? Upon this day I walk, held in time by the embodiment of my soul, whose importance is no more valid than the seasons in which we live, our daily lives so meticulously. If these seasons were not to change, would we still live? This universe within can only become the one that exists outside of me, because I am no more than I was, and no greater than I ever will be when I am one, the Tao. I'm pretty sure he was a spiritual human being. I don't know if he's still with us or not. As far as what you get with this album, it is super funky. A lot of nods to like Fela Kuti, but it's also got a lot of like 81 was probably about when like the new wave of reggae boom, and ska was kind of kicking in with bands like fucking Madness, making the charts. This has got parts of just reminiscent straight up of like late 60s Scotalites or Don Drummond shit, mixed in with just hard, greasy funk, and like a punk rock attitude. It was recorded, if I'm not mistaken, live on a street, like outdoors. I could be wrong about that. It's inside the tape, and I didn't read it before shooting this video. I just want to talk about it so bad because it's so cool. Look at the red case. Love it. Awesome. Alfredo Tims. Next up, I don't know if I've shown this before or not. Lime Spiders with a compilation called Head Cleaner. Contains all early Lime Spiders classics. So what you get is a compilation of like basically their EPs and singles and shit. And it is a great compilation. Released in 1987 by Virgin Records again. Is this the second or the third Virgin cassette we've looked at? At any rate, it was only released in Australia, and it came in the weirdest case that I've ever seen. And I don't think any of you will have this. So you've got a slipcase, and it's like the thinnest fucking slipcase in the universe. And then you've got this ginormous plastic block. This should have come with instructions on how to open it. Unfortunately, I bought it secondhand, and I had to like stare at it for a very long time to reverse engineer how it opened, and I finally figured it out. So you just go like this. See, it doesn't even work half the time. That's annoying. Of course, it happens when I'm on video, right? There we go. Boom. See? It pops up like that. The first time I tried opening it, I didn't want to be too like brutal with it because I didn't want to break it, because there would be no way ever to replace this thing. There's the tape, Virgin Records, blue ink on white cassette. Lime Spiders, Australian punk band, and they were awesome, like garage punk. So they really flirted with that kind of garage revival sound of the 80s, and they kind of took it up a level as far as musicianship went, as far as like just like Furiosity went. These guys were just on fire, killer stuff, and a really weird tape that I'm sure nobody has besides me. Now, here's two that are like novelties. Now, these are not albums that you ever put on to like just sit down and listen to. I know that I've talked about these in the past. It's two releases, which I'm counting as two releases. The first one is the second volume of, I believe it's a 4-part series. It might be 5-part tape series. The first volume I'd love to get my hands on, but I've never found it. These aren't on Discogs. I've combed the internet. I've asked the original guy if any are available, and they all sold out. It's pretty kind of a cult item. I'm talking about Crass Loops Volume 2. I don't know if you can see the Crass logo looped together twice in a row right there. And you have, the Crass logo there, and Volume 2 there. There's the cover. 2 tracks, one on side A, one on side B. Screaming Babies and Do They Owe Us a Living. Now, Crass Loops was an art project started by a guy or a person with a Tumblr account. You remember Tumblr? That didn't last very long, did it? There's the A and the B sides. So basically, these are just like perfectly looped segments of Crass songs. Now, in this case, Screaming Babies, the A side, is I believe 45 minutes long. Each side of this tape is 45 minutes. There's a 45-minute repeating loop of
screaming, baby screaming, baby screaming, baby screaming, baby screaming.
Of course, it starts off with Eve, shaved women
and collaborators.
Anyway, this is awesome. This is what you put on to kill a party, right here. This Crass one. Now, Do They Owe Us a Living? It's the same thing, basically. It's just 45 minutes of a choice part of Do They Owe Us a Living looped. It's great. The first time I got these, when I got these in the mail, I actually did sit down and listen to both tapes in their entirety. I don't know how I did it, because it's really repetitive. So this is volume 3, right there. Again, you've got the black on black Crass logos looped together. Crass Loops Volume 3. So in this volume, they went away from Crass. The first 2 volumes were specifically Crass only. So this is Discharge. And of course, you've got the leather jacket Inception on the front cover, indicating that it's a loop of that. Visions of War and Why. And it's the same concept as the Crass Loops, which is literally about 10 to 15 seconds of each of those tracks, perfectly looped for 45 minutes in a row. It's awesome. That's punk rock right there. That's fucking obnoxious shit. I believe the volume 4 that came out after this has the Exploited on it, as well as, was it English Dogs or Concrete Socks? I'm not 100% sure. I know the Exploited had something to do with it. And it's cool as well. I'd love to find that also along with volume 1 and be a scum elite, completist, not elitist. Gatekeeping is for assholes. Crass Loops, volumes 1 and 2, or 2 and 3. And the last one, which is one of the weirdest things in my collection. Well, maybe not one of the weirdest things in my collection, but one of the most uncommon things in my collection is actually a book on tape. And it is the novelization of Scanners 2, The New Order, as read by Roddy McDowell of fucking Planet of the Apes, Fright Night. Yeah, this Roddy McDowell right here. But just look at that cover. I found this at Powell's Books in Portland. Look at that cover. I mean, why would you not buy that? First of all, Scanners 2 is awesome. And I just find it also hilarious that they did a book on tape of a novelization of a movie. The movie wasn't a novel before it was a movie. It was a movie and then a novel. So that's pretty hysterical. Also, it's got ads for other amazing books on tapes put out by this same company, which is, if I can read that, Dove Audio, and it's a double cassette. You got 4 sides on these really spiffy white tapes. It's just a weird, random piece. I've never listened to it. Maybe I should one of these days while I'm working. See if it keeps me on the edge, anticipating every word out of Mr. McDowell's mouth. We'll see. I don't know. At any rate, that's my 10. I'm done. I was at the gym before this. Then I had dinner. I feel fucking gross because it's almost 100 degrees out, which for some of you might not be that hot. This is fucking Seattle, okay? It's supposed to be like summertime is supposed to be no hotter than like spring in most other places. So I'm not complaining. I love the sun, and I'll take fucking some heat over freezing ass cold any day of the week. At any rate, I'm out of here. Thanks again for sticking with the channel and dealing with my shit and my shenanigans. Just keep being fucking awesome. Keep being cool to each other. Don't be fucking shitty when you go out and about. Just be decent fucking human beings that care about other fucking human beings. That's all I ask. And with that, I'm outie. Later.